respiratory system. Now, what's going to happen if the main part of your lifeline is being shut down? Well, you could have had literally dozens of car accidents or impacts over the years and not even be aware of it. Now, every person on the planet should have their spine properly checked. Just think about it. If your spine is out of alignment, it's going to affect the way that your brain communicates. Really think about that. Do you want your brain to be only sending 50% of the messages to the entire body? Now, you could have levels of the spine that are being affected and not even be aware of it. And that can develop over a period of time. And like I said, only 10% of the nerve's function is for feeling. The other 90% is coordinating the body's functions. Dr. Sperry, back in 1980, won the Nobel Prize for his research on the way that the nervous system communicates throughout the entire body, and showing just that very little of it is sensory nervous system. A lot of it is just what's called proprioception, communicating between the muscles, the organs, and all the different cell tissues for healing. So it's very important to look at making sure your spine is properly balanced and healthy. And then when we get into adult age, we get locked in. We get locked in at computers. We're sitting in that slump position. We maybe have less movement in our day. We have to create movement. Every link of the spine has to move properly. If our spine is not moving properly, if you don't have proper links, these movements of the spine actually send messages up to the brain and help recharge your brain's batteries. If there's a blockage along the certain levels of the spine, it will affect your nervous system, your brain, to communicate properly. So we want to make sure that there's proper movement and motion at each level of the spine, making sure that all the little links can bend forward, can bend backwards, can tilt side to side, can rotate properly. And if they don't, it's going to have a stress on the spine. I'm going to use a little model here. This is a fuse for a house. Now, if you had a blown fuse at your house, let's just say that you go to turn your washing machine on, and you put your clothes in there, and you turn the dial, and nothing happens. What would you do? You know what a lot of people do? They go, well, something's wrong with the washer, and they call a repairman. Now, what's a repairman do? Most of the time, they're going to look at the washer and go, hey, nothing's happening. But if they really are smart, they're going to go to the fuse box, because if you blow a fuse, it's going to create a problem throughout the body. Now, if you called somebody out and they started taking a pickaxe and cutting holes and chasing wires around your house, that's like going in and doing exploratory surgery. You got to go to the fuse box. Your spine is the fuse box. Making a tiny little adjustment and turning that power back on allows the body to heal. However, stresses can be put upon the spine and cause it to continually blow. If you've got postural stress, if you've got physical stresses throughout your day and you're not sitting right, or you've got constantly bending and moving on one side of the body, or you've got chemical stresses on your body, maybe the foods that you're eating are constantly irritating the nerves, maybe in through the upper back, it will cause a spasm in those areas. If you've got mental or emotional stresses from whatever that is, it's going to cause certain areas of your spine to short circuit. So you've got to look at your body as a one unit. You've got to make sure that you're removing the stresses upon your nervous system. You've got to check the fuse box and flip those switches back on. All 24 sections of the spine need to be properly maintained. Make sure the power is always on. Just a tiny little click can turn that power back onto the body, making your body work more effectively, allowing the nervous system to heal like it's supposed to. You know, I've had the opportunity for many years to take care of thousands of people and families from all over the country, talking with different people and different doctors. And I remember one very specific story. It was a story where we took care of a little baby that was the victim of shaken baby syndrome. That's where a baby is, in a matter of just a couple seconds, is shook violently. Now, I found out about this because her father was a very educated man. He had a PhD in psychology, and he was talking about what happened to his daughter. 9 months before, had never ever had her spine properly checked. And she was in a position of her body, she couldn't move certain parts of her body, and was somewhat unresponsive. And in talking with him after, he was speaking to thousands of people at his seminar. And in talking to him afterwards, I asked him, has anybody ever looked at her lifeline? Because the head and the forward and the shifting of the spine. And he said, no one's ever told me about that. They said it's just the brain. Well, the uppermost part of the neck is critical to that. From car accidents, shaken baby syndrome, to make a long story short, this little baby was going to continue on. They told her she probably wouldn't live but a few more years. And she was somewhat of a vegetable. And we came back to my office at 1:30 in the morning and checked out this little baby to see if she had a subluxation. When I felt her spine, the uppermost part of the neck was so badly rotated, and we did a picture, an x-ray of the area, did a very tiny adjustment, and there was this click as the spine wanted to go back to its normal position. And in that moment, this little girl, just over a year old, started to make a pouty face and started to actually make noises, and she'd been unresponsive for almost 9 months. I share that with you because, you got to take care of your family. You may have somebody that has never had their spine properly checked. This little baby, if she'd never had her spine properly checked, where would she be? Now that was about 5 years ago. This little girl is now walking, she's talking, and she's living somewhat of a normal life when medically they said that she was going to be a vegetable and might not only live a couple years. Your life flows from above down, from the inside out. You've got to make sure your spine and nervous system are healthy at all times throughout your entire life. You've got to make chiropractic and your spine and nervous system a top priority to make sure that you keep healthy day in and day out. As always, each week we want to make sure that you make a decision. If you've never had your spine checked or your family's has never had their spine checked, make that the choice this week. Have their spine properly checked. And until next week, we'll see you next time from A Touch of Health. I'm Dr. Bob Graykowski.
So that people can relate.